think, oh, this child is being naughty, they're doing this on purpose, they're trying to get attention. To actually really think more deeply about what is this child trying to get, how are they trying to get proximity, how are they trying to get their needs met from the people around them. I'll just skip over that slide. I won't go through all of this, but I think it's really useful to think about this idea of safety. So some of you who are professionals here, who might be confronted with different forms of attachment all the time. Some of you might be educators, some of you might have colleagues who have different kind of attachment styles. It's useful to kind of just think of these sort of 4 rules. The first one is being present. So if for people who have disorganized attachments, just the fact that you're there, all relationships feel frightening and triggering. So the fact that you can just even be present, physically present, you don't have to talk, you don't have to say anything, just being consistently physically present often offers that first step into them slowly starting to trust you and believe that you'll be someone who will be consistently there. And so, this idea that, I can see you, I acknowledge you, and I'm not going to get any closer because I know that's frightening for you, but I'm going to be here. And this idea of physical presence is incredibly important. One of the things we are really trying to do here is really advocate for mums and families to really be present with their infants, not send them off to daycare too early, not to have long periods of separation, to really be physically present, because that physical presence makes an extraordinary difference in people's life. And that's something I know I tell myself, to get home from work and just be physically present at home is an incredibly powerful message and sort of influence and attachment. Second one is listen. And we've come a long way. We used to say, be seen, not heard with children. You want to see them, you don't want to hear about their problems. Of course, what we know now is that, listening to children is incredibly important. They often have complex lives, emotional lives and problems. And so listening and attending to what they're saying is really important. And quite frankly, it's one of the real joys of being a parent, really, is being able to listen to what they're saying to you. But with smartphones, with competing priorities, it's very, very easy to go a whole week with just being around people and not having a meaningful conversation. And that can be hard, knowing what to ask and what to ask so that they tell you what's going on. That in itself is a tricky thing. Reflect. So reflect often it refers to what we call reflective listening, which is a set of sort of skills. So it's not just enough for you to listen and understand. The other person needs to know that you're listening as well. They need to know that they are being understood. And this is very, very important. The way children see themselves is through your eyes first. If you love them and you think they're capable, that is how they will come to see themselves. You are their mirror. It's not just mirror neurons. It's quite literally the beliefs that you're carrying. So when you reflect that, when you communicate that, how you feel about them is how children come to feel about themselves. So that's incredibly important. And the last thing is validation. And what we mean by validation is that the child, that the person you are with has value, is lovable, no matter what they achieve or what they do. So for many of us, even if we had the best parents, we're made to believe that our achievements, that are titles, that are material possessions, is what actually helps us, makes us lovable, makes us worthy. And that often kind of finds its roots in society, but also in those early relationships where there's conditional acceptance. If you do this, then I will love you. If you get good marks, then I would be proud of you. And so that kind of conditional, it's okay to have expectations of children, but when you start kind of communicating that conditional acceptance, that's where often things fall over, and that sort of secure attachment isn't communicated. And so one of the things I often say to kind of parents and people is that you can say, I don't like what you're doing, but I love who you are. So really separating the behavior from the person is an incredibly important way of offering validation. So relationships are key. So they're very important, and I'll just end with this slide. I've gone 5 minutes over. I'm happy to stick around to take questions as well. So when we think about it from a very broad perspective, from a public health perspective, early relationships is a public health issue. We're saving an incredible amount of, healthcare expenditure. We're increasing productivity, not just for the individual, but across the community, across the country, if we make smart investments in early infant mental health and early childhood. And the three things we kind of work towards are supportive relationships, reducing sources of stress. And by sources of stress, I don't just mean psychological things. I think very real things like material needs, support, financial support, or material support. That's equally as important as emotional support. And also strengthening core skills. So cognitive skills, having stimulating environments that are not just about cognitive development. What we know about brain development is that we learn in different ways. Education is not just about downloading information to the other person. It's about doing it within a relationship, using your body, using your mind, and having an integrated experience. And when we do that, we have healthy, emotionally and mentally healthy children who end up being responsive and productive members of our community. So I'll leave you with that sort of message. This is our book. Like Smitha was saying, that's freely available. You can just follow that link, and if you want to purchase it, you can just hop onto our website or go to lulu.com. So TIPBS is our website. So we're trying to use some of these ideas within schools. So if you're working in schools or any healthcare kind of settings, please reach out to us, and I'm happy to talk to you further. And a few other resources that are very practical to read. And that's it. I'll just stop sharing. I don't know how I stop sharing there. I'm not quite sure how to stop sharing. Anyway, so I'll just leave it there. So thank you, everyone. Thanks for all the questions and the comments as well. We really sort of appreciate it. Thanks to Girish and the folks at Thunai as well. Like I said in the start, if you wanted to reach out to me, I'll just quickly whack my email address in the chat. Feel free to please email me. Any feedback you had from today, or any other sort of connections you'd like to make for the future. So I'll stop there. Thank you very much.
Thank you so much, Dr. Govind. So we do have questions. Do you think you can take two of them?
Yeah, not a problem.
All right. So we have a question here which says that in clinical practice in pediatrics, how do you pick on avoidant or disorganized attachment? That's question number one. Yeah, I suggest we answer that first.
Yeah, not a problem. Yeah. So I guess the issue is around assessment, isn't it? So there's various ways in which we can assess attachment. So of course, one of the ways I would assess, so there's lots of ways to assess attachment. The question often becomes who assesses attachment. Often it's psychologists like me, often pediatricians are quite busy a lot of the time, so kind of medical practitioners, and we use kind of a multimodal assessment. So we do a clinical interview, so we get a little bit of a history of what those early years were like. So we talk to mom or dad. We also get some history about what led to the pregnancy and that sort of thing. And that often flags with us some risk factors in the family, in the parent, but also within the child, that might point to a certain type of attachment. What we also do is a observational assessment. So we watch the child and the parent together. And what I often have is some structured tasks and things like that that they need to complete, kind of like the strange situation that we watched before. So we observe how the parent is interacting with the child, how the child is playing, what the quality of that is as well. And the third kind of prong thing that we do is questionnaires. So we have adult measures of attachment, and we also have measures of kind of relationships that are filled out by the parents about the child, but also we get collateral information from daycare or teachers or other kind of relevant family members. So what we do is we gather all of that information together to try and understand what the profile of the attachment style will be, and how that attachment fits in with the kind of concerns that the parents are coming in with at the time, that people are actually seeking support for. And it's what we call, I guess, a conceptualization that we kind of